What's up, folks? Folks, what's up, folks? We had a weekend where we didn't have to worry about a loss, which is amazing. So we get to be a little bit more happy in this episode instead of us messing around or getting upset about the results. My hat's doing weird things on the green screen. Let's get right into this. Welcome to the Show of Champions. This is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast. How's it going, Orange County? Welcome to another episode of the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, the first and only show dedicated to Orange County Soccer Club, its fans, and supporters. I'm your host, Ray Zamora. I'm here to take you through this journey as we discuss all things Orange County Soccer Club. Helping me out on this episode, first, the originator, Mr. Dylan. Dylan, I love that you're matching me for this show.
I'm about to change, I think.
We both,
Anyway,
if you're not watching the video
everybody.
version, we both have orange shirts on. So that's where I say we're matching.
It's good to be here. I'm really excited to get into it because I'm really excited to talk to tonight's two guests.
Well, then let's just get the ball, keep the ball moving, rolling, whatever it said. Hey, let's go out to Vegas and Mr. Brad, the man of a million scarves. Brad, how are we doing?
I'm doing well. You can skip me. It sounded like you wanted to. Hashtag bolt up, hashtag some more out.
Why are you already jumping on the Samora out bandwagon here, Brad? You're just like anxious to get rid of me.
You were discussing your hat in the intro. You called me the originator. You started the show. So I think, yeah, some more out.
We started the show, Dylan. And I'm messing up names. This is a great start to this show. Our guest that's joining us is like, what did I get myself into? Well, we've got a guest right into the snap of these things, the start of these things. I will tell you later why I'm so loopy and I can't even get words right. But let's bring on our guest. Maybe he will be able to correct my bad word usage. And that is Mr. Matt from Raising Anchor, covers Rhode Island FC, which is a new team to the party here in the USL Championship. How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing well, and I thought I was going to have the excuse of coming on at 11 o'clock my time. And Ray, you're starting this exactly how I feel right now. So thank you for matching the energy I've got left in my day before I wake up and do this whole thing all again tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm joking about it, but I don't know. Maybe you didn't quite know what you're getting yourself into with our show. We're a goofy bunch. I tend to mess a bunch of things up, but for some reason, I still get the reins of the show, and I get to control things on here. But thank you for taking some time to join us. Oh, let me ask you this: how is the inaugural season here in the USL Championship going for Rhode Island and the fans and you personally?
You know, if you had asked me that question yesterday or Friday, even, I'd probably give you different answers because we're coming off of quite the beating from Lily Ball in Pittsburgh over the weekend. But that being said, this inaugural season has been nothing short of incredible for just about everyone involved, from the front office to the sporting and athletics to the players to the fans themselves. You know, this is a team where, and I'm sure you guys have seen this over the years with expansion sides, but when you look at teams that have to delay, right, and we've seen several USL sides that have pushed out their start dates, this was a club that said, no matter the difficulties, no matter what the stadium challenges were, you know, we announced post-COVID, we were going to get this done. And so, yeah, sure. Are we playing our first year in a college stadium where we're renting and trying to cohabitate with 7 different divisional sports all at the same time? Are there challenges? Of course. But I think if you ask these fans looking back since March when we debuted against New Mexico, I don't think they'd trade a single second of it.
And, you know, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, one of the things we talk about on our show is for Orange County, the difficulty is competing with a bunch of other professional sports, not just soccer, but sports in our area. And then also against great colleges that have great sports programs. For Rhode Island, I believe you all are sort of like the lone pro team right there where you are, I believe. I know the weird thing with the East Coast is all those cities are really close to each other. So you can easily go to Boston, New York, you know, Hartford or something like that and watch a professional sports match. But what is it like, sort of the soccer team? Rhode Island FC is sort of like the team right there for you guys as far as home professional teams in your area.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I'm not a native Rhode Islander. I'm a transplant myself, and the first thing I learned when I came here was that Rhode Island is a very loyal place. It's where people brag that they don't leave the state ever, and it's only about a 42-minute drive in any given direction from the center. The irony to that loyalty, though, is this like fierceness around the New England sports scene as well. And so what's so interesting is when you think about the fact that there is already the New England Revolution, an MLS team, and they are only 26 minutes away from where the new stadium is going to be starting for 2025. It's actually one of the closest markers in the sporting landscape specific to soccer, where two different professional teams are actually kind of cooperating in the same space. But the beauty of it, like you said, though, is this is Rhode Island FC, right? So Rhode Islanders are already starting to show more and more loyalty to their tiny state but mighty USL team. And we've seen it by fan opinion and the fact that they'll compare us to the New England Revolution and the atmosphere. And it's not just the size, it's the fan culture, it's the supporters group Defiant 1636, it's the soccer IQ within the state. There's something really special that's starting to grow within the state, and people have really started to rally behind it.
You have a number. I'm pretty sure I'm taking Brad's question here. You have a number of former San Diego Loyal players, but kind of talking about a brand new club. Was there a chemistry kind of there? Did that aid things getting underway in any way? And has that continued as the season's gone on?
Yeah, that's an interesting piece of insight. The first and foremost, Koke Vegas was announced as our first player in club history. So there was some kind of additional gravitas there when it came to that signing. A lot of loyal fans kind of immediately flooded our Discord and all of our kind of like fan areas to give us well wishes and blessings for the season ahead as the Loyal kind of met their demise. But to that point, then we had Grant Stoneman sign. And what's been really interesting with Coach Cano Smith under his first year here is there does seem to be this kind of ability to find pairings within the league or within collegiate systems. And it's not universally just to the Loyal. So besides the Stoneman and Vegas pairing, we also have Marky Barra and Albert Diqua, or Chico, last year's 2023 Golden Boot winner. We have that pairing. We have a collegiate pairing from Marshall, one of the top Division I soccer schools in the country, with Gabby Alves, and now on loan Morris Dugan from Minnesota United. And then, of course, it'd be ignorant of me to ignore the fact that there's several products coming from the New England Revolution Academy systems, Revolution 2, and even the senior team and the likes of Isaac Anking, who's now injured. We've got Jack Paniotu now on loan. And then, of course, you have like Zachary Harivo and other products that have come through. Zach Harivo also a partnership with JJ Williams coming from Tampa Bay. So it's just these intricacies that have been built up. It's one of those things where it's the luxury when you build a team in the first year, you get to kind of plan with some purpose. And Coach Cano's definitely demonstrated that in these pickings that he's gone after to build this team.
One of the pickings is something I wanted to talk about, and you brought him up already. Chico Tiqua. I feel like he's been around the league for longer than he has, because he's actually only 26 at this point. How has he been this year? I mean, without having watched a minute of Rhode Island play this year, I would probably single him out as the biggest piece of the team, an attacking threat. Is that accurate? How's he getting on?
Yeah, so it's actually interesting. Diqua was a very late signing for the club. It definitely looked like it may have been one of those kinds of deals that it took the longest to get across the finish line. When we had interviewed Coach Cano in September before the first player was announced, he had kind of alluded to a possession-based system that would ideally play more of a 4-3-3. And when you look at the roster construction and the depth of it, you can kind of see that was that style and design he was looking to go out and get. The addition of Chico completely just threw those plans out the window. And that's where we've seen Coach adopt this 3-5-2 system with the wingbacks kind of playing a utility role. And it kind of moved away from this central concept of having speedy wingers up the midfield to service the likes of JJ Williams. And so now it's like, what do you do with Chico? And he has definitely suffered from a little bit of goal drought activity this year. It's a different style than what he was playing with Lily Ball in Pittsburgh. So it's a different, kind of expectation. I don't think anyone goes into a back-to-back performance expecting Golden Boot winning across multiple seasons in a row. So he's kind of reverting back to his means. That being said, he's still an incredibly lethal striker. He's got 7 goals on the season with 3 assists. So he's still in double digits from a goal contribution standpoint. That being said, we actually interviewed him recently, and he said that he's been working on the things he does off the ball, including tallying assists. That's something that you actually have never seen from Chico in the years prior. He's very much a poacher, right place, right time kind of opportunity striker. So the fact that he's putting more movement into his game now is something he's been excited to showcase. And he's really helped stretch the field this year. We're one of the teams that has the highest amount of goal scorers. We've just kind of shared the wealth across the team. And Chico's been a part of that. And he doesn't get enough praise, I think, in some of this off the ball work he's been doing when you look at the records he made last year with Pittsburgh.
All right. I mean, you guys in your last answer just kind of touched on a lot of what I wanted to ask, but not the question I wanted to ask. So you mentioned the players that we all know from around the league over the last couple of years: Dikwa, Williams, Koke Vegas, and Stoneman. Those are, I think, 4 of the players you guys started off very easy with, Koke being the first, that are all mainstays in big market splashes. Dikwa being the reigning Golden Boot winner out of Pittsburgh. So obviously those are the big name players mixed in with a lot of MLS Next Pro. Right now you guys are sitting in, I just had that number, 6th place in the East. Is this, with 8 games, I think, to go, 7 games to go, is this where you expected the team to be? Is this overperforming, or is this underperforming to your guys' standards on the year?
It depends, I guess, on who you ask, to be honest, what standards, because, the front office from the beginning has made this declaration that they would compete in year 1. There's definitely an interest being expressed that this will be one of the first teams since the 2019 championship era of record retention, if you will, to actually make the playoffs in their inaugural run. It's not something that's happened in true expansion, at least according to the league. So having said that, I think the baseline expectation was that they finished 8th or better, but something has changed in this team after we got through I think our 12th draw of the season, that it was hence why we now are dubbed the Draw Kings. But something kind of turned with this team where it became an understanding that not only was it more than likely we would make the playoffs, but really how deep could we kind of advance up the table. There's definitely a target now for this front office and for the players themselves to get to 4th place and secure a home berth. I'm not sure that will happen. When you look at the Eastern Conference compared to the West, it's really interesting. Like Louisville and Charleston have just run away with it, right? Like no one's arguing that. But then when you look at the 4th through 8th, the variation or difference in point structure is like a point in some of the positioning. Like I have a really sincere feeling that I'm pretty sure we're going to have to go to tiebreakers to determine some of the playoff structure in the middle and back end of that playoff table. So having said that, like, is that a success? I think every fan would agree with that. But then we've signed 2 MLS like seasoned veteran players in Morris Dugan and Jack Panayiotou on loan. Jack Panayiotou being one of the most explosive bright lights in the recent Leagues Cup. And so now it's not really, I don't think fans are talking a lot about, 8th place. It's going to be tough, but we're going to battle through. A lot of the opinion in this group we can get to 4th if we continue our winning ways and we kind of ignore what happened this weekend in Pittsburgh.
Alrighty, I got one more question for you. And there it goes out of my head right as quickly as it came in.
Ray.
Yeah, I know. I'm definitely pulling a Ray. You know what? If I find it, I will ask it, but I'll pass it over back to you, Ray.
So here's my question. I love it. It's not Samora out. It's Polanski out on the comments. Matt, question for you on this is you're catching Orange County at probably our lowest point of this season here so far, with a recent coaching change, really poor run of form. It was just this last match where we finally were able to score a goal after, I don't know, a month and a half drought of scoring. Obviously, on paper, Rhode Island looks like they would be the favorites, but again, it's a cross-country road trip, I believe, right? You all are coming out this way, so that's always a difficult thing to do. For us fans that haven't watched much Rhode Island FC this season, what if the Orange County fans are watching this match and we're seeing something on the pitch? What are we seeing on the pitch from Rhode Island that should make us really nervous and make us feel like this is not going to be our night again?
So I do want to start real fast with I had you guys picked as the first place seed in the fantasy podcast that we're all doing. And so Orange County has let me down extremely in that regard. So thank you to your group for that. I think I'd be in first place if it wasn't for Orange County right now. That also being said, I'm a huge Ethan Zubak apologist. So I will say this with Rhode Island FC for your listeners, there's three real big takeaways from this club. Is you are not going to see a team that is more aggressive in its fouling and its physicality, I think, than any other team this season. There's this mentality with the Rhode Island FC guys that they're just all attack, they're all energy at all times. And when they lose the ball, it's not a team that just kind of gives up and, closes their shape and resets their defense. They're like rabid dogs. They lose the ball and they're going after whoever's taken the ball from them or whoever's intercepted any kind of pass or cut line like that. And so with that matching intensity, there's usually two styles of what happens for opponents that face Rhode Island FC. Either one, Rhode Island catches the opponent unaware in an early 15-minute kind of surprise goal, or it's a matter of breaking down a defense. And it really comes down to that endurance factor. This team has now scored over 39% of its goals in the final 15 minutes of all of its matches. So when you think about that, and whatever the state of Orange County is when it comes to those kind of defensive structures, especially late game, that is a place that Rhode Island FC has thrived this season when it's not busy with, last minute equalizations to get the draw or just killing off games. They seem very functional and very capable of those last minute goals. That being said, too, the final piece is just really the variation in depth. This team has a very deep war chest right now, especially with those recent additional loans. It's a team that, there's a cam opportunity. There's a winger on the bench. We have two fullbacks that can sit and they can also move up. It's very hard to predict kind of what Kano's deployment of his subs will be on any given night. The formation is pretty standard. It's not hard to understand what he's going to deploy, but it's the subs that really change and define what a team has to figure out to face against Rhode Island FC. Most opponents that have done well against us are the teams that score first. Rhode Island has a knack for having to catch up versus, kill off games. So those would be, I think, the big moments and things that fans should be looking for on a night against you guys at Championship Park.
All right, awesome. I'm going to really quickly catch my missing question that flew out into the breeze. You mentioned that the team is full of draws this season. We obviously don't have the same watching the tape, but it's typically one of three things. It's either stealing a win from a loss, stealing a loss from a win, or kind of a early score, no score game that kind of just felt like they were punching each other and no one went down all game. How have most of those games felt for you of the 12 draws?
So it's actually at 13 now. We're looking to tie with that 14th so that we can tie the record and then hopefully beat it before the end of the season. But to your point, yeah, it's unfortunately been the one where it's a lot of just slugging back and forth. Of the 13, we have 5 0-0 draws. So those are some of the worst soccer games. And as fans have tried to acclimate to soccer in the smallest state in the union, it's been kind of hard to take away anything other than like, what did I just watch when I came here? That being said, though, some of the most exciting games have come with late minute equalizations, including our home opener against New Mexico United that came in stoppage time with an own goal against them. We've actually rallied back, similar to how we score so late. A lot of our equalizations for draws do come in like the last 6 minutes of a game. So that has been really fun to kind of claw back that point. We've actually only given away 2 games where I think we just couldn't keep our defensive composure. And both of those games felt like we had them in hand, but things just kind of ran away from us for any random number of reasons. So I would say that if we do have a draw, it's usually because both teams are falling flat. And I will not lie to you guys, coming out of a game against Pittsburgh with 0.06 XG kind of has me a little concerned right now. But Coach Cano has gone on the record multiple times saying that for the club he's tried to build, this team doesn't lose 2 games in a row, and they haven't all season. So it'll be really interesting to see kind of what the outcome is this weekend when they travel to you guys to square off.
So I have this question for you. And Orange County is a very unique position here going into this match against Rhode Island, as they are a Western Conference team that has yet to face Rhode Island, yet their current manager, Danny Stone, faced you all back in April and was able to come away victorious with his Phoenix Rising in a 3-1 victory over Rhode Island. What did Danny Stone do right against Rhode Island in that match to come away with that victory? If you can recall back to April, if you remember at all.
Yeah, that was one of my least favorite games of the season, but that was a game where you saw a very young and I'm going to say immature squad. They were still kind of trying to figure out the rotation. The formation never changed, but it was kind of like which player was the hot player to put on. Unfortunately, also, that was a game that saw Chico suffer from a massive case of the yips. He had just come off of a Open Cup penalty miss that just really seemed to destroy his form in that game as well. We had a penalty that would have actually equalized the game and probably changed the trajectory of the outcome of that match. But then Chico again missed his penalty conversion. And it took him like 7 games to get back into any kind of fighting form when it came to his production and his output on the field. I don't think that Phoenix did anything other than catch us with an early goal, but we would have course corrected that if our player had scored their conversion on the penalty, and I think it would have been a much different narrative. Phoenix at that time also was in a pretty big rut, so no one really expected a lot from them given the cannibalization of their squad last season. So I hate to say it, I'm not trying to say Danny Stone isn't a wizard, because he definitely can do a lot with little, but I don't think that was any credit to Phoenix having a stellar game. I think that was one of the earliest showcases of a young Rhode Island FC squad not really knowing how to stretch out a game and play the type of style that they like to play, which at that time was possession and not counterattacking. And we've since kind of we've figured that out with the exception of last weekend.
I think that's it for our questions on our end. But Matt, you spent a good amount of time giving us some insight into Rhode Island. And I know you have some of your followers and listeners following along here with us or listening to this episode. Do you have a question or two for us that we can answer quickly? We have about 4 or 5 minutes that we can answer any question from you.
Sure. So I think that listeners are the most interested on our side of understanding, what would you define the Orange County play style right now? And has that changed with the recent addition of Danny Stone, or is it more of him just kind of re-steering this ship into a potential playoff berth for the end of the season?
I'm going to be quick, and then I'll let Dylan or Brad, because I can't really get this answer. It's a difficult answer on that because of the coaching change, because of not just that, but 2 coaching changes on the season, a bunch of players that had been injured that are now making their way back into the lineup. Really, my answer would be it's a cluster mess of style right now, because we really don't know what to expect out of the players, and we've only seen one match with Coach Stone at the helm, so it's hard to really know exactly what tactics he's trying to implement full time. But Dylan, go ahead if you have something better.
Yeah. Stone was announced, I think, 4 days before a match, and you don't get a lot of time to train and really develop a new identity when that happens. Orange County has suffered their biggest ever loss, 6-0 to Charleston, less than a month ago, and they also, I believe, went 5 matches without scoring, which is the second longest drought in club history. So it's not going well. And you mentioned you're an Ethan Zubak apologist. He got a brace last weekend. Very nearly had a third. maybe this is where he rounds the corner. We're not really sure, but
I just want you to know I was listening to your previous episodes, and one of you predicted a potential Ethan Zubak hat trick. So whoever that was, you were super close in getting that right.
I feel like
I don't
I
even
should take
remember
the
who
credit,
said
but I
that.
don't think it was me. I think I
wanna say it
may
was
have
Larry.
predicted. That sounds like
That's a very Larry prediction.
It sounds like a Larry or a me thing. That's really the two the goofy guys that go off the wall with their predictions.
Yeah, but similarly to Brad, similar to the way that Rhode Island plays a very physical game, there are a handful of players on Orange County that if they lose the ball are likely or almost certain to give up a foul. As to whether or not that is completely needless or actually pretty good, given the context of the situation, it's pretty likely. And Orange County, I think, has a tendency to sink if you score early against them. So here's hoping that that 0.6 XG is continuing, if not getting worse for you come Saturday.
0.06. That's how bad it was.
Yeah, let's really hope for that.
Yeah, we've seen a game like that a couple weeks ago against North Carolina that was not much better. Our play style, we're scrappy. In a lot of the games we've played in this losing streak, it's been a 1 or 2 goal loss. It's, not really much of a we're not scoring, but the defense isn't really letting the team down entirely. We do have those players who do score. Luckily, though, with Orange County, I know Danny Stone only had 4 days in his first game. He had 14 days to prepare for this upcoming game. He still has the better part of a week. I'm sure a lot has gone on behind the scenes with our bye week to prepare the team. And another question that I think we all have is, how the identity of his coaching style matches up with the players we currently have that are healthy. As health has been an issue with a lot of our players, a lot of them are starting to come back. Seth Kasipli, Tomas Among is also coming back as well, getting some good minutes. I think Kevin Partita is back this week, if not in the next couple weeks as well. So really time has to tell with the health of the team and where the team is as a whole.
And Matt, I hate to do this to you. I know I wanted to give you another question, but we actually have our next guest waiting. Before we go to our next guest, though, I want to do a quick roundtable here. Score predictions for this match. And Matt, as our guest, I'll let you go first. What's the score prediction?
Well, knowing who your guest is, and hopefully they don't take it too personal.
I'm assuming you're going to a 3-1 Orange County prediction then.
I am not. I do think you get one past us, but our defense has been pretty solid this year. We have the fewest losses for an expansion team ever right now, and I'm hoping we can cling on to that. So I got 2-1 us, but that body clock 10 p.m. game, that may be the difference maker on top of the travel. So we'll see what happens.
And I think I see Coach Stone in the background. He's jotting this down so he could post it on the wall, let the players know that you guys are on pace right now for the least losses in expansion. Maybe that gives motivation. Dylan, your prediction for this match?
I'm going to go 0-0 here.
Brad?
We got Coach in the background here. I got to be positive. We got 2 last week. Let's make it another 2 this week. And I think the defense is good enough to keep one in. So 2-1 OC.
And I'm going to go 2-0 Orange County on this one. I'm hoping for a great result for Orange County. This Matt, really quick, we're going to let you go, but where do our listeners go to listen or hear more from you, see more from you? Where do they go?
Yeah, sure. So you guys can follow us on all the socials at RIFC Podcast or at Raising Anchor. We got both of them so that it'll redirect you. I hope you guys have a great rest of the show and enjoy all the loyal fans that are going to come up this weekend to support Coque Vegas. I hear they may be traveling in force, so enjoy kind of reliving that.
Awesome. Thank you. Everyone, that is Matt from Raising Anchor podcast to cover Rhode Island FC. Thank you so much, Matt, for staying up late on the East Coast to join us. Moving right along, though, we've got our next guest, and this guest has been a couple weeks in the making here. We were looking forward to speaking to him once we heard he was now at the helm of Orange County, and that's Coach Danny Stone. Coach, welcome to the show.
Thank you guys for having me. It's a pleasure to be on with you.
No, we're excited to have you on. And I know it's been such a roller coaster for not just you, for the team, the players, the organization as a whole, right? Third coach on the season. Obviously, not much time to fully implement your tactics. That's something usually is done more in the preseason, off-season time. It's hard to do middle of the season for those that aren't familiar with training schedules and all that. how has it been in your first now, couple weeks at the helm? How are the players adapting to their third coach of the season, and how are you adapting to life here in Orange County?
Yeah, it's a good question to kick things off with. I think for me personally, I'll start with myself. I've really enjoyed my time here so far. It's been only 4 weeks or so for me to this point, but the club have welcomed me extremely well, and that goes from ownership and from sporting director all the way through to the players, of course, that I work with every day now. As far as I go, it's been quite a seamless transition for me, if I'm honest with you. I think probably for professional coaches, the simplest part of the job is perhaps getting back on the grass and working with the players and getting back into that rhythm of coaching. That was something that I hadn't had too much time away from, so there was no issue on my side from sort of hitting the ground running with that. The players have been fantastic. I mean, listen, honestly, I will say to you, since I've arrived, and especially since this, since I've taken over in this last 10 days or so, the players have been first class. They've given everything that I've asked for. They've worked extremely well. They've worked extremely hard. I think everybody is in, realistic, view of the situation that we're in currently. And everybody is in a I think a strong mental place to go and attack that challenge that we have ahead of us. So, the players have been fantastic. The club's been great. I've really enjoyed the time here so far. And we're looking forward, honestly, to this weekend's game against Rhode Island. And obviously, we want to give the right reaction and response and get ourselves back on the winning streak in the front foot.
Yeah, we were talking with our previous guest about this. We have Orange County has a unique opportunity here because for the most part, if you're a Western Conference team, you're only playing an Eastern Conference team once on the season. But we're in an advantage here because you actually faced Rhode Island as the head coach at Phoenix. So you actually know a little bit more probably than most other Western Conference coaches would know about Rhode Island and sort of what to expect from them. I know Matt mentioned it was sort of building blocks for Rhode Island at the time and maybe didn't give credit to what Phoenix did in that. But what did you see in your first matchup against Rhode Island that you can maybe try and take advantage of here in this match now with Orange County?
Yeah, well, we played Rhode Island in my time at Phoenix earlier on in the season. That trip for us was an away game, and it was a long trip to go and play a new team into the league. And a team that I think we recognize have some very talented players. They have a good squad of players. And I think earlier in the season, they were perhaps finding their rhythm a little bit more. And, now you look at that team and I think it's clear to see that over the last 2 or 3 months, especially, they've found some form. They've found some rhythm. They've hit their stride a little bit and have started to pick up some very good results over that time as well. So I would say probably the game this weekend compared to when I last faced this opponent is probably a different task, honestly. But of course, I will take some of the lessons and some of the information that I know of them previously. I think they're a team who they have a good blend of an ability to play short and to possess the ball, and then they have some very strong and powerful players, particularly in that front line of theirs, where if they decide at times to go more direct, they have a good blend of being effective and being strong in both of those aspects. So we'll be ready for that. We'll train and are training as such to prepare for both of those sides of the game. Players will be as ready as we possibly can be. And we'll expect a very tough test this weekend, like I say, against the team who I think recently are on a good run of form. They'll be disappointed with their result last weekend in Pittsburgh, and they'll be looking to bounce back and make amends for that. So, we know that they'll arrive here in Orange County and be ready to put up a strong fight. And like I say, they are a good team, good players, well coached, and they will be a tough test for us this weekend. But it's a challenge, honestly, that we're really looking forward to. We can't wait to get back out there on the field. We've had obviously a few days break as far as competition goes. And we've used that as well as we can, but we'll face this opponent with all the intensity that we should have coming into this weekend, and like I say, we expect a very tough game, but we'll be well prepared and we'll be ready for that.
Awesome, Danny, welcome on. I've already kind of espoused 2 of my 3 questions I have for you, and while you were in the green room, I think, so these shouldn't really come as a surprise, but obviously You had 4 days to prepare, 3 days to prepare for the first match. You have 14 days to prepare for the second. Obviously, it's not a full off season plus weekly games, but what's looked differently in your short tenure so far as coach?
Yeah, I mean, look, going into the first game last weekend against Las Vegas, that was really a 48-hour build into that game. And what I will say is, we're of course disappointed with the final result of that game. We're disappointed not to at least get something out of the game. But as far as what we put into those 2 days, and especially what the players put into those 2 days, with me asking some slightly different things of them, trying to straight away immediately initiate some tweaks to how we wanted to play, how I would like the team to play. I was very, very pleased overall with the way that they applied themselves to that first game. Now, as we obviously move on into this game this weekend, we look at this as yes, we've had some time, to look at the opponent. We've had some time to, I think, physically recover a little bit. Obviously, we do have we still have a handful of players who are coming back into full fitness. It's been great having those players back on the training ground with us and, taking part in full, complete team training again, which is a big step. And for me, the bit of time off that we had last weekend, I look at it as a very positive thing. I look at it as it comes at a good time, in my opinion. It comes in a place in the season where it's a bit of a mental reset. It's a bit of a physical refresher. And then we attack this final 8 games of the season with everything that we have. And, like we've spoken about already, we've spent some time last week. We didn't lose a day last week, after the Vegas game in terms of training, and we didn't lose a day in terms of how we want to try and develop the team. The same goes for this week, and we're working very hard collectively as a staff with the players, like I say, to implement I won't say a completely different style, but certainly a couple of slight tweaks in the way that I would like to see the team play, and where I feel that, with the players that we have at our disposal and where our strengths are within the squad, a system and a way of playing that fits and suits the players, to the best of our ability. So we're working very hard at that. Like I say, the players are training extremely well. I'm very, very pleased with them. I can't ask much more of them at the moment. I will continue to push them very hard. And at the moment, if they keep giving back to me what they have been, then, we'll be in a good place to go and approach the game this Saturday.
All right. Obviously, you haven't had a chance to build the roster, and a lot of the players are coming back from injury. How do you think the team fits with what you want to do with the team, and how you are as a coach in your career?
Yeah, I mean, I now have had, a few weeks, which is not a long time, just to see the players in person and to work with them a little bit, get to know some of their strengths and their traits as players, and obviously then get to know them as people and characters as well. I think the way that we will play moving forwards, we will try to keep as much intensity in the game as we can from an attacking point of view. I do think that we are a team who, we have some natural wingers in the team, which gives us some, I think, strength in those wide areas, some athleticism, some pace in those higher, wider areas. I think in Ethan Zubak, I was so pleased for him last weekend, for him to get a couple of goals there. That's critical, obviously, for any number 9, for any striker to be in and amongst the goals. And I know for him, he's, since I've been here, I've watched this player work extremely hard through games and work extremely hard through training, and perhaps not quite get the reward and the success that he obviously would like in terms of goal production. Now, to see him last weekend get a couple of goals, I think we changed a couple of things with his game, even in those couple of days leading up to the Vegas game. Without sort of speaking, I suppose, too freely and too openly about what those specific tactical adjustments might have been, I think we saw, a little bit more productivity from Ethan. And of course, that the big thing is it's all about him and his effort, his work rate, and his hunger to get him back in amongst the goals again. And he deserves a ton of credit. Rightly so, I think, earned his way into the team of the week this week, which is great credit to him. And, anytime an individual player gets recognized in a team of the week or any kind of individual recognition, I think that does also point to the team as a whole, because obviously, of course, it takes a team to put any one individual in a good place for those types of recognition points. So, we're very pleased for Ethan, very pleased for the team in that regard. Of course, it comes in a game where, again, we don't glaze over the fact that we're gutted and very disappointed with the result, of course, at the end of the day. But I think, if I'm honest with you, what I saw in that first game was some, even in a couple of days, I felt we saw some steps forwards in terms of what I have seen previously since I've been here with the club. I'm familiar with the team, of course, having played against Orange County earlier in the season, and I'm very familiar with the club over several seasons now, having played against Orange County as an opposing coach. I have a lot of respect for the club. I have a ton of respect for the players that have played here over the past seasons, and I know these players here. I believe me, if I could sort of pass on to you one message, it would be if you could feel what I feel in the players, from a real willingness to want to succeed and do well and bounce back. And we know we're in that situation. We know we're in that spot where we need to show good reaction. We need to show a good level of ability to perform when it matters. And the players are desperate to do that. So we're all working very hard. And, again, without sort of speaking too specifically about some of the adjustments, we will continue to play in an intelligent but an attacking style with as much intensity in those moments as we can. And we will obviously now try to shore up defensively and make sure that we are a tough team to beat as well. So, there's a lot to work on still, but we'll keep putting both sides of that game together. And, this weekend is the next opportunity for us to come and show the fans, to show people who come and watch us play, how much we want to do well for them. And also not just that, but the ability that we do have within the squad.
Awesome. I got one more quick question. You did have a senior career playing a couple seasons in the United Kingdom before moving over, but there's really a lot missing from your kind of biography, at least on Wikipedia. Sorry, that's a lot of where I get my information from. Tell us, how'd you get to America, and how'd you get into coaching from being a player?
Yeah, well, I'll try and give you the quickest version of this that I can. I've been in the US now for approaching 18 years or so, and I've been a full-time professional coach for all of that time. So for me, I finished a playing career relatively young, 24 years old. In a similar way to many do, unfortunately with some injury, and he finished almost at a time where it's not something that you choose. Now, what that did do was that led me into a coaching journey and a coaching career sooner. Almost it gave me something to really sort of throw my energy into that kept me involved with the game, kept me attached to the sport. And, in my early years in the US, I spent the first 8.5 years of my time in America in Las Vegas. I was working with directing youth clubs, youth academies. Then about 4 years after I came to the US, I began to work with the Colorado Rapids. I was still based in Las Vegas at the time, but I began working with the Rapids in 2010 and formed what they still now, I believe, today call their Adidas Alliance program, which basically was a partnership with youth academies and youth clubs around the country. And my role with the Rapids was to go and visit and work with all of those organizations and do things like coach education work with their staff of coaches, and some education work also for the families involved with those youth clubs, and of course then work with their young players as well on behalf of the Colorado Rapids. A few years later, I eventually actually moved to Denver and joined the Rapids full time. My time with the Rapids, I continued with that role as that Alliance program director. I also worked with their under 19s group and their under 23s group at the time. So almost that sort of college age player and players who would come back from their college seasons, as well as then joining the first team staff under Pablo Mastroeni and working with the Rapids first team with Pablo and with Steve Cook as well following that. And I spent good years there in Colorado and sort of worked in all three of those roles during my time there working in the MLS organization. Really enjoyed that time. And following that, then moved on with an opportunity to go and become the assistant coach at the Oklahoma City Energy. Spent 2.5 years there in Oklahoma City before then moving on to Phoenix. And, again, at Phoenix, had some involvement initially with the oldest age groups in the academy when I first joined Phoenix, and then very quickly became part of the first team staff. And one thing I've done over the years is, like I say, whether it was in Las Vegas, whether it was in Denver with the Rapids, and in Phoenix prior to this, I've always been very involved with and actually have quite a strong passion for showing and producing and working with that pathway from academy players through into young professionals and then into obviously full-time professionals. That's something that I've spent a lot of time doing. I know that's something that Orange County as an organization also put great value on, and I really am pleased to see that, and it's something that I think I fit very well with. So as well as obviously putting a large focus and priority into, of course, working with the first team and making sure that is the priority, I will also put some effort into making sure that our young players are developed well and come through and have those opportunities where and when deserved. And like I say, I spent 4 years at Phoenix, of course. Assistant coach there, won the championship with the USL Championship last season in 2023, and then became the head coach for the first half of this season, and before then obviously joining Orange County very recently. So that, I know that's a lot of words there. I've tried to give you the quickest overview. I've missed a lot of stuff out there, but perhaps another time we can delve in a little bit deeper. But that's a quick overview for you there,
Coach. That's a great explanation of what's going on. I think we've talked a lot about, and we're kind of segueing here, what Coach Danny Stone looks like, and hopefully we can learn a little bit about what human Danny Stone looks like. I'll start with what makes it Danny versus Dan or Daniel.
I would say there's really probably only a few people in my life that have really referred to me consistently as Daniel. Those would be obviously, close family members, my mum, my grandparents, probably earlier in life. I haven't really, unless I do something wrong, I haven't really heard Daniel for a while now. But, Dan has just not been a name that really ever was used with me. Danny, really honestly, for most of my life has been 90% of what people call me. But Daniel probably earlier on in life as a younger kid, mostly from close family members. But Danny is what almost everybody in my life that I know now would call me. Got it.
This one's probably kind of obvious since you're a Scouser, but favorite club growing up?
Liverpool. I'm a Liverpool fan. My whole family is, it's same as me. All huge Liverpool fans. We've been very lucky, I think, to have season tickets at Anfield for many generations in our family. So for me, as a young kid, I was very, very fortunate to be able to start going to Anfield and watch games there with my grandparents, with my dad, with my brother, with my family. And that's been something that I was lucky to grow up with. But for me, Liverpool is a close part of my life. A very, I have a lot of fond memories following Liverpool, and like I said, I've been in the US now for several years, so I've been less back at Anfield, as regularly as I would like to be, but. I keep in touch very closely with the club, and I'll any chance I get, I will be watching them. And for me, growing up Liverpool, and that won't be changing anytime soon.
I love how Brad's just sitting there with a smirk on his face on that one, because you hurt his feelings.
You can see what I chatted in the YouTube comments as my little take on that.
We'll jump to a fan really quick, Danny. How do you feel about Liverpool's title chances this year?
Well, it's a good question. It's probably a hard question to answer at the moment. I mean, I think what you can maybe say is it appears that they've started off well. I think Arne Slot has inherited a good squad of players, and he'll put his style and make his changes to how he wants the team to play. But he has a very good squad of players at his disposal there. So, I mean, listen, I'm typically a very positive sort of person, so I'm not going to change now. I will be very positive with Liverpool's chances and say I think if they if they play to their potential, I think they have very good players, and I think they've got a good chance of pushing hard to be up and around the top end of the table at least this year. And I hope at least we win a trophy of some kind.
I love it. Very diplomatic. Who's your favorite player growing up?
I think for me, probably in my earlier days, it would be players like John Barnes, Ian Rush, that sort of generation of Liverpool players. And then really as I sort of developed in my playing career and began playing professionally, Steven Gerrard is, it's very difficult for me, honestly, to sort of look past him. I think from watching him play as a Liverpool fan, from watching him play from a coaching point of view, I've coached against Steven several times, in the latter part of his career while he was at LA Galaxy. I think for me, to be able to see a player live like him, it's you can see a lot of what he does by watching him on TV. But I think honestly, it's probably only if you have the opportunity to see that player play in person that you really can appreciate actually the level of ability and quite the player that he was. So, like I say, earlier years probably Ian Rush, John Barnes, and then Steven Gerrard following that.
Got it. Now we're gonna go fully off topic. So my apologies / you're welcome, depending on how you look at this one. Do you have a favorite musician or musical group?
Yeah, easy answer for that one as well. The Beatles. There's no question for me on that one. It's the greatest band of all time, and that it would be well, not only wrong, but I'd be lying if I said it was there was a different answer to that one. I mean, listen, I'm a big music fan. I love any sort of live music, any sort of live entertainment, honestly. But the Beatles for me, greatest of all time. So I can't go too far beyond that one.
Well, we get it. You're originally from the home of rock and roll, whatever they morphed into, which is fine. And
yeah, music
we'll teach you about punk rock now that you're here, and you can enjoy that too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hand it off to Ray for one question, back to me, and we'll get you on out of here.
Yeah, we will do that. But mine isn't just one question, but it's going to go quick. I have 11 quick questions, this or that questions. This is totally to get to know you a little bit better here. So Here we go. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Beach or mountains?
Beach, but not necessarily on the beach. I like to be next to the beach, but not on it all the time.
On a nice patio overlooking the beach or something like that. Yeah, that's the way to go. Books or movies?
Movies.
Sweet or savory?
Sweet. I'm going to go sweet.
Early bird or night owl?
Honestly, a little bit of both. Depends on the day. I couldn't really pick one or other of those. I'm some early and some late. Depends on the day.
No problem. Summer or winter?
Wow, that's a tough one. I'll tell you, I'm probably overall summer, but I'm a massive Christmas fan.
All right. City or country?
City.
Cooking or eating out?
Ooh. Cooking.
Comedy or drama?
Drama.
All right. And then this is the bonus question. There's 3 choices here. All right.
Okay.
Tottenham, Luton Town, or Everton?
Wow. That's possibly the worst question I've been asked in an interview. You got
to pick one. You got to pick one.
Well, I'll tell you, let's go Luton Town. Let's go Luton Town. I've played there. I think they are a very traditional club, and I would like to see them bounce back again into the Premier League. So let's go with Luton. Let
me hand it back over to Mr. Hatter himself, Dylan, for the last question.
That might have been the worst question you think you've ever been asked, but I'm going to actually one-up it by asking, Danny, what's your favorite vegetable and how do you prepare it?
Wow. Okay. All right. Favorite vegetable. I'm going to go a little bit outside the box here. So I'm going to go with a parsnip. And if I'm honest, I'm not sure how common that is in the US, but in England, that's a pretty traditional vegetable. And at Christmas, you can't beat a roast parsnip with a honey glaze on it. So I'm going to go with the parsnip, and I'm going to go Christmas dinner, honey glazed roast parsnip.
You truly are a Northern Englishman. Ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah.
your Orange County SC head coach, Danny Stone. Danny, thank you so much, and good luck this weekend.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Of course. Wow. So much to take in from that. Do you think he hated Ray's question more or mine? Because that's what I'm.
Hey,
you know what? That was the most intricate way of asking which of the three of us he prefers. And clearly the answer is I'm still the heel of the podcast. Dylan, you are the face. Congratulations. Hashtag some more out still.
See, even he knows. He's been here for like a month, almost to the day, and he's already, I don't know about this man.
Oh, funny. Let's do this before we get into wrapping things up. Dylan, what should our listeners do? Where should they go for more information about the podcast in Orange County?
I'm going to plug the written content first because our written team has been killing it all season.
Slaying it.
Even with some not great results. So I'm hoping that they've got much happier things to write about. And I imagine that our most recent guest is also hoping that. You can find all of our written stuff at ocscpodcast.com/news. Or just ocscpodcast.com, or I believe last week, ocscpod.com. If you're feeling verbose, orangeandblacksoccercast.com. And if that's too difficult, you can find us pretty much anywhere there's social media at OCSC_soccercast.
Yeah, we made sure there's a bunch of ways you can type it up and find us. So hopefully you have no problem with that. Let's get into this. What did we learn this episode? And I'm actually going to go twice on this because I learned two very important things. I'll go first and then I'll go last. So the first thing is I get the record. I get to go in the record book, mark it down. I asked the dumbest question or whatever Coach Danny Stone said my question was, the weirdest question ever in an interview with the this or this finale. And unfortunately he got the answer wrong. So but I can't do anything about that. Dylan, what did you learn?
I just learned more about, what got Danny Stone to coaching, because there's this big, massive gap, and most people, when you kind of retire at 24, like you kind of get left behind in a horrible industry. So it was nice to hear from him about what he's been up to and what led him here.
Brad, what about you? What did you learn this episode? Pulling a Brad. I almost did that.
Okay, I know you actually did a little. I'm gonna echo what Dylan said. That was what I was most interested in going into this interview was, hey, this is like a 14-year undocumented, nobody just sits there 14 years and decides they want to get back into coaching. But not just that, his ascent to being a head coach in this league for, now two teams, maybe unfairly let go from one, is absolutely momentous. And so he's a respectable person, and hopefully he turns the season around for the guys at the end of the day.
Perfect. And what else did I learn in this episode? Coach Danny Stone likes fancy carrots with his Christmas dinner, parsnip, which is basically just a fancy carrot. Yeah. So there's everything we learned. Hopefully you all learned stuff in this episode as well. Yeah, perfect. So before we wrap things up, I just wanted to put this out there. I have a couple questions. Are you a local OC brand or business? Are you an Orange County Soccer Club fan? Do you believe in supporting local? Well, if you are answered yes to any of those and you want to help support a local podcast covering Orange County Soccer Club, reach out to us at info@orangeandblacksoccercast.com or info@ocscpodcast.com if you don't want to type so much. Let us know what you're interested in. We're always looking for support and sponsors. We can do anything. We can do ad reads. We can have you on the show to talk about your thoughts on Orange County and plug a product. Let us know if you're interested in supporting local soccer with us. With that said, I want to thank everyone for taking part in this episode. Not only my co-hosts, Dylan, Brad, my producer, Andy, but also our guests that we had on the show, Coach Danny Stone and Matt from Raising Anchor. Correct? Raising Anchor? Rising Anchor. Raising Anchor. Yeah, I know. I messed it up, huh, Dylan? That everyone should know by now. That's me. I also want to thank everyone that paid attention and followed us in the chats and listened to this episode live or listening in podcast form. Hey, thank you for doing so. And Dylan, really quick, I want to ask you, are you ready for this weekend?
Let's do it.
Well, you got to have more of an answer than that. Brad, are you ready for this weekend?
Let's do it.
You guys, come on. You guys have to have more than just let's do it. What is exciting you most about the match this weekend? Really quick answer. Besides
Danny
just
Stone's had a week and a half to hopefully impose some sort of idea about how he wants his team to play. And this should be the first time that we get to see Danny Stone's Orange County Soccer Club play. And I'm excited to see that because the last time that we had a coach with no hair take over in the middle of the season, good things happened. Just saying.
That is a true thing, right? And hopefully that recurs. Any last thoughts on any of that from you, Mr. Brad?
No, honestly, hopefully these next 90 minutes are going to be a huge indication of what the next 7 following games will look like. So a lot of work to be done, not a lot of time to do it. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully we're seeing Danny Stone football in this match with the 2 weeks of prep. Hey, thank you for listening. This is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast. We are out.